Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everyone today? Good to see you all here. As many of you know, I drove to Louisville, Kentucky for a protest on Friday, and I drove the 16 hours back yesterday. So I'm a little tired if my voice sounds a little raspy. Also, what happened at the protest for me personally was that I lost my glasses. I had my sunglasses on and my glasses just joined the ether at some point. So I had to wear my sunglasses all the way home, even at 10:30 at night. And then I was going to have to use them this morning, but I remembered I had this pair like 3 prescriptions ago. They're working pretty well. I did enlarge the print just a little. Anyways, I want to welcome you to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Reverend Nori Rost. I'm the minister here and delighted that you're here with us. If this is your first time visiting, and if you feel so inclined, just say hey in the chat and let us know it's your first time so we can greet you. I'm super excited to see that our new lead for the Pacific Western region, Reverend Carlton Smith is here. Carlton, would you like to unmute and say a few words of greeting?
Absolutely. Thank you, Nori. It's good to be here with everyone. Good to see your smiling and shining faces. I'm with you from my hometown, Holly Springs, Mississippi, which is just southeast of Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah, I'm looking forward to being out west before long. I'm out west virtually now, but I'm not there in person. But it's been really a great start. It's been 5 weeks in the job now, and I'm just trying to make my way out to the congregations virtually as I can at this point. So thank you so much for welcoming me. I appreciate you all so much.
As usual, we're doing Joys and Concerns every week during Tuesdays with Nori Zoom chat, 5:30 p.m. If you, we just get together. It's very informal. We just chat about whatever we chat about. And if you have any personal joys and concerns that you would like to share with the broader constituency, you can email them to eletter@asuuc.net. A couple of things we're inviting you to be a part of. One is there is a great series on PBS called Reconstruction, America After the Civil War. And this explores the history of the Reconstruction era post-Civil War to give us a deeper understanding of the origins of today's systemic racism and policing and mass incarceration, as well as the Black-led movements resisting it. So there's a link for that. That was in the e-letter. You can check it out there. I can try to post it in the chat. I normally would rely on AB to do that, but he's not here. Hold on, stand by. Technology at its finest. There it is. Nope, that's not it. I don't think that's it. Hold on. Well, it's in the e-letter, so you'll just have to get it there. I don't want to waste time trying to do that because it's not my strongest point, obviously. Also, there's an anti-racism training online that many of us took last month in June, and it's going to be available again in August. That link is also in the e-letter. It's from the El Paso Diversity Commission in El Paso, Texas, of all places. Super great. And what's really important about those two things is that I'm creating a new project called the Paraclete Project that is going to build upon those two workshops to a third workshop that I'm creating along with Stephanie Rose Spalding. And those three workshops combined, in that third one, we're going to create a project to raise funds for Stephanie Spalding's truthandconciliation.org Dream Child. So if you would like to be a part of that, I'm looking for at least 20 to 25 white people who really want to learn more about their white privilege and white supremacy so that we can become better accomplices to the Black Lives Matter movement and to people of color. And it will require those two workshops I just mentioned, and then a third workshop that I'll be creating with Stephanie Spalding. And then it's going to be a very powerful way that we can really educate ourselves. And I call it the Paraclete Project. Paraclete is one of the names in the Christian scriptures, the Greek word for Holy Spirit, but what it literally means is to come alongside. So we want to come alongside the Black Lives Matter movement and all people of color in their quest to end the systemic racist violence and not take over, not tell them what to do, not be paternalistic, but to come alongside. So we're going to be paracletes, the Paraclete Project. So I invite you to join that. There will be more information in an e-letter coming soon to you. Following the service, you'll be randomly assigned into a coffee breakout room. Please take this time to chat with others in your room, like a virtual fellowship hour after church. These will be random assignments. However, we will have a special room set up for a choir member and band. If you're not in that group yet, but you want to be, just write that in the chat and we'll assign you to that group. We are having a special educators group at 1 p.m. for the educators who are really concerned about reopening the schools so soon. And we've also invited educators from Unity and High Plains and other educators that people know. Rick, if you could put that link in the chat now, I did give that one to you in advance. If you're an educator and you're concerned about schools reopening, we invite you to come to this 1 p.m. special Zoom meeting and join that. And parents, don't worry, we're going to create an opportunity for you to join the conversation as well to see what we need to do to keep our families and our educators safe. So now let's take a few minutes and just kind of scroll through the thumbnails and see who's here. Say hey to folks. It's always good to see you all. I like to put it on gallery view for that because it's easier. Good to see everyone. Thanks all for being here. All right. We gather here every week, not because we must, but because we can. We come not in spite of our differences, but to flaunt our diversity. We gather from every socioeconomic stream, race, ethnicity, gender identity, age, ability, slipper preference, and find that we're eminently more fabulous and definitely stronger when we can bring all of who we are into this space and be seen and known and loved for all of who we are. And that is what makes this sacred space, and that is what makes this holy ground. So let's take a few minutes to breathe in the divinity of this hour, brought here to you, by you, while I ring a bell.
Good morning. We light our chalice with words from Mary Oliver. The oak tree loves patience. The mountain is still looking, as it has for centuries, for a word to say about the gradual way it slides itself back to the world below to begin again, in another life, to be fertile. When the wind blows the grass, whistles and whispers in myths and riddles and not in our language, but one far older. The sea is always the sea. These things you can count on as you walk about the world, happy or sad, talky or silent, making weapons, love, poems, the briefest of fires.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Beth Green, Director of Religious Education at All Souls. And before I get going with the story for all ages today, just a brief reminder to parents out there. Right now I have a parent survey circulating for both RE and youth group. As you know, we will be online for the entire year here at All Souls. So I really wanted to get parent feedback on a couple of different things that we're going to be trying out as we go into this digital year, which I think is going to be super exciting. So yeah, those surveys are in the e-letter. If you have kids in RE or youth group, you can take those. And if you have a youth member as well, I encourage you to ask them to take the survey too, because we would love to hear from them. All right, now on to the story. I have Cornelius, a fable by Leo Leone. All right. When the eggs hatched, the little crocodiles crawled onto the river beach, but Cornelius walked out upright. As he grew taller and stronger, he rarely came down on all fours. He saw things no other crocodile had ever seen before. "I can see far beyond the bushes," he said. But the other said, "What's so good about that?" "I can see the fish from above," Cornelius said. "So what?" said the others, annoyed. And so one day, Cornelius angrily decided to walk away. It was not long before he met a monkey. "I can walk upright," Cornelius said proudly, "and I can see things far away." "I can stand on my head," said the monkey, "and hang from my tail." Cornelius was amazed. "Could I learn to do that?" he asked. "Of course," replied the monkey. "All you need is a lot of hard work and a little help." Cornelius worked hard at learning the monkey's tricks, and the monkey seemed happy to help him out. When he had finally learned to stand on his head and hang from his tail, Cornelius walked proudly back to the river beach. "Look," he said, "I can stand on my head." "So what?" was all the others said. "And I can hang from my tail," said Cornelius. But the others just frowned and repeated, "So what?" Disappointed and angry, Cornelius decided to go back to the monkey. But just as he had turned around, he looked back. And what did he see? The others were falling all over themselves, trying to stand on their heads and hang from their tails. Cornelius smiled. Life on the river beach would never be the same again. The end.
Every one of us is called upon, perhaps many times, to start a new life. A frightening diagnosis, a marriage, a move, loss of a job, and onward full tilt we go, pitched and wrecked and absurdly resolute, driven in spite of everything to make good on a new shore, to be hopeful, to embrace one possibility after another. Surely that is the basic instinct. Crying out, "High tide, time to move out into the glorious debris, time to take this life for what it is." Barbara Kingsolver, High Tide in Tucson.
So I said I posted those links in the chat, and that I mentioned earlier for the anti-racist training and for the PBS series on Reconstruction. So last week I talked about the board retreat at the Equine Center that we had recently, and how we had to create an obstacle course to lead our newly befriended horses through. We had to create an obstacle they had to go over, one they had to go through, and one they had to go around to navigate. And we named these obstacles the sense of isolation that we had to go over, get over, the pandemic itself that we had to get through, and not knowing when it will end, and that the systemic racist violence that we have to navigate in this time of social distancing and pandemics and being safe, but how to be accomplices for the Black Lives Matter movements. And then after we named all those, we each successfully led our horse through the obstacle course. But we didn't do that first. First, we met with the trainer and got to know the horse, got to learn about the body language of a horse and what it means. We learned that if the ears are flicked forward, then they're interested in something. And if they're like separate, one's flicked forward, one's flicked back, then they're interested in two different things. Maybe the grain being poured in a bucket over here, but also listening to the trainer talk here. And if the ears are pinned back, we learn to watch out. So we got to know what it means when their head is up or when their neck is level with their bodies. And then we learned how to simply lead them. As my trainer said, you have to convince the horse that you're a worthy leader, because there's no way you're going to move a 1,000-pound animal by simply tugging on the lead rope. And as it turns out, it's not a big secret to leading a horse. You simply resolve to lead. You focus on where you want to go, you fix your eyes on the end goal, and you put that intention into the universe. You take a deep breath and begin to walk. And sure enough, every time the horse came alongside. Now, sometimes there were hiccups. Sometimes a horse got distracted by that grain being poured in a bucket. Sometimes I got distracted and I lost my focus. I was in a ring with another horse in a socially distanced place with two other board members. And as I was leading mine, I looked at that other horse and thought, what a pretty horse. And then my horse would begin to crowd me because I lost my focus. But when I regained my focus on my intention and my goal, I was able to do a course correction. We've talked the past 2 weeks about how the obstacle in the path becomes a path, using the book, The Obstacle is the Path by Ryan Holiday. We've taken a look at our perception and perspective and the need for action. And today we're going to close out this series by talking about the discipline of the will. Because sometimes the obstacle doesn't move, does it, with our action? And no matter what stories we tell ourselves, it's still there. So the discipline of the will comes to play when the obstacle simply won't go away, and there doesn't seem to be a way we can navigate over or around it. It's as if we put our focus on the goal, set our intention to get there, took a deep breath, and stepped out only to find the 1,000-pound object didn't move at all, and we're still tethered to it. So what then? Well, that's when our will shines. Not willpower, as in, I'm not going to eat that last cupcake. What last cupcake? Holiday puts it like this. Will is fortitude and wisdom, not just about specific obstacles, but about life itself and where the obstacles we are facing fit within it. It gives us ultimate strength, as in the strength to endure, contextualize, and derive meaning from the obstacles we simply cannot overcome. Will is the power to use our already learned lessons, in other words, to bring to bear on this current obstacle. In other words, if you're not used to obstacles, it can come as a shock to have them set before you. We've seen this, haven't we, in the ongoing saga, the COVID pandemic. I don't know why I decided to do this after driving 16 hours, but I'm using media in the ongoing saga of the pandemic here from early on. Let me see if I can do this. Share screen. Here from early on, remember this one? charming. And this meme pretty much sums up the reaction of others. Hold on. Right? Nobody's telling me what to do. I'm not wearing no stinking mask. And you can see it's a little boy going to put a fork into an outlet, which he'd been warned against, obviously. So these are people who aren't used to having obstacles put in front of them, right? They, you know, there are so many, and I don't want to say Karen. I said, get ready for the tournament of the Karens, but a friend named Karen said that wasn't kind. So now I'm calling them the tournament of the petulant children who don't want to wear masks. It's like taking away their civil rights or something. These are images of people who aren't used to boulders, to obstacles in their path. And Wham is saying amen in case you can't hear him. And we probably reacted similarly when obstacles blocked our path, not so dramatically, but certainly there have been obstacles placed in my path where I responded with, it's not fair, right? It's not fair. Well, when obstacles don't move, survey says, ding, 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 that's the #1 answer. That's the #1 response. And that's okay. I mean, we feel what we feel. It's okay to have an initial reaction of it's not fair. But if we stay stuck in that place, we become a victim of circumstances, as the Dalai Lama says. When you think everything is someone else's fault, you will suffer a lot. And we're seeing a lot of that, aren't we? With people who don't want to wear masks, or they think the whole thing's a cover-up or whatever. And that if you stay in that space, friends, you're going to suffer a lot. And certainly the first noble truth is that life is suffering, but that doesn't mean you have to stay stuck there. All right. So maybe then the second response after saying it's not fair or it's somebody else's fault is we try to ignore the obstacle, to say it will magically just disappear. Just one day, the pandemic will just be magically gone. That sounds nice, but completely absolves anybody of all responsibility. So what useful things can we do when the obstacle just won't go? Well, the first thing we can do is to acquiesce. This doesn't mean giving up, doesn't mean saying, well, we built systemic racist violence into the DNA of our country, nothing can change it. Wonder what's on TV tonight. Acquiescence is actually a powerful letting go of expected outcomes. Acquiescence is a powerful letting go of expected outcomes. When we let go of our own outcomes and what we thought would happen, we are free to see ourselves as part of a larger story. That there's more than happening than just in our corner. There's more going on than just our desires that are being thwarted. That it doesn't matter what we feel about a mask. It's a part of, if we could just let go of the fact that we have to wear a mask, we'll see that we're a part of a bigger story, as this meme says. I promise, I think this is the last one. So people resist having to wear masks, or they resist social distancing because most people don't die from it. We have to get back to our lives. I don't live in fear. Keeping me at home is a violation of my freedom. You're exaggerating it because you're out to get Trump. See, they're focused on their own tiny little narrow self-interest. But if they could let go of that, they would see that the thousands of people who die actually are very significant. That the response to COVID should be tailored not to my tolerance or inconvenience, but to what's better for the public health. That doesn't matter that I'm brave, I'm endangering others by not wearing a mask. That it's not about my inconvenience. It is about other people getting sick or dying. And people and masks are not political weapons. I think it was, I can't remember who it was. One politician said, a mask is not a political statement. If you want to make a political statement with your mask, write it on your mask, right? So there's a larger picture happening outside of our own puny little concerns. Not that I'm saying that they're not valid, right? Because obviously we all have our concerns in life, and but it's just that there's bigger picture. There's a bigger picture. And acquiescing to the way things are, guess what? You have to wear a mask. Opens us up to the larger story of which we're a part. It's like the serenity prayer. Give me courage to change the things I can, serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to acquiesce to the things I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. There is great power in letting go of what we cannot change. It gives us the opportunity to reflect then on what we can change. As I said, I just got back late last night from a rally in Louisville, Kentucky. I left at 5:30 in the morning our time and got back at 10:30, 16 hours, 1,000 miles. And there protesters have been meeting since March to protest the incredible lack of action on behalf of the city and the DA to press charges against the 4 white cops who shot and killed Breonna Taylor as she slept. Shot her 8 times, and as she lay gasping for life for 5 minutes, they made no move to render aid or call for an EMT, which she was, ironically. I know knock raid to the wrong house. The drug dealer they were looking for already in jail. These protesters know that systemic racist violence is how this nation was built. But their protests are held daily as if to remind them near the place where the auction block was in Louisville, Kentucky, where lives were sold into slavery. But they're not giving up. They're not just saying it's not fair. They don't have signs out there that's saying it's not fair. That's not what their signs say. They're organizing. They're deepening community. I spoke with one local organizer who showed me up a high on a building where the police had put up huge, really bright lights that they turned on at night, and speakers that they could blare out, go home, the curfew, whatever, because every night and day they gather in this park. But she said, that's not disrupting them. Every night somebody spends the night in that park to safeguard the memorial, this huge memorial that people, as they do in times of tragedy, spontaneously created for Breonna Taylor, with flowers and pictures and poems and assertions of love. And then they cover it with this large tarp when it rains, so to protect it. And then every day when the protests began, they uncover it, they set up the candles that had fallen. But there's somebody there all the time to protect that. I saw also how the Black community there, the local community, with their I Can't Breathe and Black Lives Matters t-shirts, set up a food station to provide food and water, not just for the mainly Black protesters, but also for the mainly white community of those experiencing homelessness who live in that park. They're creating and deepening their community. When just a few dozen of us caravaned from Colorado to join them, we were changing the community. We were deepening and strengthening the community. We said collectively, we stood with the Louisville community protesters, and we said Breonna Taylor is our daughter, and they said Elijah McClain is our son. And when we marched, we would sing, say her name, Breonna Taylor, but then they would also say his name, Elijah McClain, the 15-year-old autistic boy that was killed in the Aurora area because he was Black. But we're deepening and strengthening community in the face of this seemingly unmovable boulder called systemic racist violence. Stephanie Spalding's truthandconciliation.org effort is a way to deepen community, to take the pledge, to share our stories. And that's truthandconciliation.org. If you haven't done so, that's also going to be a part of the Paraclete Project. When the obstacle won't budge, another act of will is to choose love each moment, just as it is, to choose to love each moment, just as it is. We want to sometimes say, the first noble truth is life is suffering, and the second one is to say, you got to embrace it, essentially. Nobody is special. Nobody gets a pass on struggle and suffering and obstacles. But has an active will, we can choose to love each moment as it is, to find joy in the good, the bad, and the ugly. In his book, Holiday tells the story of Thomas Edison. Age 67, Thomas Edison comes home early from work, another day at the laboratory, And shortly after dinner, a man comes rushing into his house and says, a fire has broken out in your research facility. So it's a few miles away. Fire trucks from 8 nearby towns have rushed to the scene, but they cannot contain the blaze. Edison's research and production campus is going up in flames, fueled by the strange chemicals in the various buildings. Green and yellow flames shot up 6 and 7 stories high, threatening to destroy his entire empire. Edison calmly but quickly made his way to the fire through the now hundreds of onlookers and devastated employees looking for his son. He says, "Go get your mother and all her friends," he told his son with childlike excitement. "They'll never see a fire like this again." That's certainly flipping the scene, isn't it? That's what it means to find joy in every situation. And actually, it is there if we focus on what the possibilities are in the moment rather than what seems unmovable. We just have to flip the frames. There is joy in the community protesting Breonna Taylor's murder. They are amplifying the meaning of her life through her senseless death. The joy is not in her murder, just as the joy was not in Edison's empire going up in flames, but in their response to it, in deepening that community. As long as we can find joy, we are never victims. Another way, a powerful way to be with an immovable obstacle, particularly when it's in your own personal life. The immovable obstacle of a divorce or a diagnosis or death is a Buddhist form of Tonglen meditation. And Tonglen meditation is when you don't try to push away what's real, but instead breathe it in. Breathe it in with every breath. And then when you release it transformed. This probably saved my life when my brother killed himself. Because I would try to meditate every morning, but all I could do, because it was like the only moment where I wasn't, trying to keep busy or distracted, it was the moment when I was still. So I would just sob, which isn't really beneficial if you're trying to do normal meditation. But when I started Tonglen meditation, I could breathe in my insurmountable grief at this loss and breathe out release. Breathe in my devastation and breathe out peace. And that's a powerful way to build up the will to face unmovable obstacles in our path. Here's a pro tip for you, though. It's best if we build up the will to let go, to see the larger picture, to find joy, to take in our devastation so that we can transform it into something else before the worst thing that can happen. Because it's like a muscle. And as we saw from those earlier pictures of the angry white man and the boy petulantly about to put a knife in the socket, if you've never had to exercise that muscle, it's not a pretty sight. So we need to practice. What if my world fell apart? How will I respond? I was talking with Wendy Mike, who does art, uses art as leadership training, and she was going to speak to a corporation in Denver that she'd spoken to before. And in this time of pandemic, she thought, well, what if they don't want to use me again? Okay, she said, what's the worst thing that can happen? They don't want to use me again. If we just practice those things like that, then it's not so devastating when something does fall apart. We're prepared. We're prepared that we're not always going to get our way. Why we're not always prepared for that is beyond me, because I've never, ever always gotten my way, except for when I've had more than one way. So if you belong to a marginalized group, you have pretty much been practicing this your whole life, but all of us could do with more exercise. And here's the great news. This is the good news, the hope that lets us say, let's get to work. Our life has changed. High tide. The insurmountable obstacle actually is moving. It may take generations. It takes millennia for a rock to wear away a mountain, but it does wear it away. And if we continue to use our will and focus and intention, we will find one day, as we take a deep collective breath, a breath that has been in the making for centuries, that we will take a step and the obstacle will move, and step by step, the path will be free. May it be so. And now we will sing our sermon response song, Be Thou My Vision. A reminder to stay on mute It's really not pretty if we all sing together because it lags, and so it creates this cacophony of noise. So please stay on mute, but please sing along, Be Thou My Vision.
Be thou my vision, O God of my heart. Thou be the oils to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, God. Thou my soul's shelter, thou my high tower. Raise thou me heavenward, O power of my power. Riches I heed not, nor world's empty praise. Thou my inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only, first in my heart. Sovereign of heaven, my treasure thou art.
To do great things, we need to be able to endure tragedy and setbacks. We have got to love what we do and all that entails, good and bad. We have to learn to find joy in every single thing that happens. Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Path. This is an opportunity to be generous in the current obstacle of living in a pandemic. Instructions for giving via text, online, or check will be displayed during the offertory music.
Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of the dark black night. birds singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Really powerful. Thank you for that, Bill, and also for the backstory. Our closing words are from Nietzsche, quoted in The Obstacle is the Path. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. So as we sing the Extinguishing the Chalice song, let us go forth looking at the insurmountable obstacles in our life with love and compassion, and with the knowledge that we're a part of a larger story that will one day move that stone. Please join with me in singing the Extinguishing the Chalice song.
Now as we leave this place, the chalice dims, but the fire still burns within our hearts. Beyond these doors, now as we leave this place, memories of each and every face carry us into the world, and we will return, for now we know that something greater than any of us alone is part of us as we leave this place.
Right, so in just a few minutes, we will go into our breakout rooms, our little coffee hour. I invite you to stay. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can just simply exit. We'll share that time together for about 15 minutes. But for now, let's enjoy the postlude that Sharon has prepared. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who participated. Kathleen and Julie and Mark and Sharon and Bill, fabulous service. I'm going to put you in the breakout rooms. Thank you so much, Reverend Carlton Smith, for being with us today. So delighted to have you with us. I hope if there's anything we can do to help your tenure go smoothly, let us know. Now I'm going to put
Thank
you
you.
in breakout rooms, and I invite you to stick around for a while. I hope to see you Tuesdays with Nori, 5:30. That link is on the website. Or see you next week. Love you lots. See you soon.